Give it about 1 or 2 more minutes, but hopefully everybody can see my screen. Everybody can hear me okay. If for some reason there is any issues, please feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to add questions in the chat throughout. I can take a moment to break, but we'll also have plenty of time at the end for questions as well. So we'll get started here in about 1 more minute. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Magri. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Adubo. And to save you my long, boring, bio, I'll just say that I love marketing, but I love to teach it even more. So I'm definitely here to help during this call or after. I love to talk marketing, so always happy to help. And obviously, you guys are joining this call because you want to learn about marketing. So win-win. So here we go. Well, hopefully everybody can see the screen. We are set. Let me just check the chat and make sure that everybody, okay. So today we are going to talk through the 7X effect, and hopefully it'll give you a little to think about when it comes to marketing. So what is the 7X effect? It is your general marketing rule of 7. Some of you may have heard about it, some may not, but the rule of 7 has been around since like the 1930s. It's coming out of actually Hollywood. Movie executives found the sweet spot for the number of times someone needed to see their advertisements before they went and saw their film, and was number 7, right? And to this day, humans haven't changed much, and we still need to be constantly reminded before we buy. And so that 7 is still that magic number. The thing that has changed, of course, is the type of interactions we have with brands. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So basically, what is an interaction? Well, an interaction can boil down to any way a potential customer interacts with your brand, right? And yes, it can be negative or positive, right? Hence the saying, no bad press is bad, all good press and bad press is still press. So, right, the negative is still getting your name out there. It's not one we really like, but it's still a way to be seen. But there are many different interaction types that can build this trust and recall, right? So everything from billboards to word of mouth, right? Reviews, they really help you in your marketing, right? So in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to walk through some of these interaction types and just kind of talk about how you can utilize them and the best ways to utilize them or the benefit of utilizing them, right? No one interaction is the best and no one interaction is the worst. It's a combination of all of them, right? And it's consistency. I'll say it here at the beginning, and I'll probably say it multiple times throughout, and at the end, consistency is king, right? So let's start with the biggest and the most popular way to interact, the trusty mobile device, right? So phone calls, we'll start with them, right? 92% of all customer interactions happen over the phone, right? But most of these interactions are with your customers, right? And vary depending on vertical. So most people won't answer a phone call from someone they don't know unless they're expecting it, unless they signed up for something. So sometimes if you're doing the lead generation and they signed up on a form and you call directly after and that recall is there from that form, then maybe they'll answer. But most people don't answer a phone call from someone they don't know. So You'll have to leave a voicemail if you call and nobody answers, especially with new leads. And I know, again, who listens to voicemails, but they are important when you're trying to reach those new clients, right? Because again, if I see a phone call and I see a call from a number that I don't know, then I don't hear a voicemail. I'm thinking, well, it's probably a spam call or it wasn't important or things like that. If it was a phone call from a number I haven't seen and then there's a voicemail, I'm probably going to go listen to the voicemail and be like, who was that? Who called me? Right? So super important to leave that voicemail. I always give this tip that when you're making these phone calls, have a script handy, right? It doesn't have to be a full talking script. It can be bullet points, but you don't want to be caught off guard and fumbling around about what to say when that beep happens for the voicemail or when somebody actually picks up the phone and you're like, oh God, somebody picked, I thought I was gonna leave a voicemail. Yeah, so what do I say, right? So you want to make sure you're getting the most important, your elevator pitch, the most important information out in those few seconds you have to grab that attention, whether that's in the voicemail, because if I hear something and it's kind of boring at the beginning of a voicemail, I'm probably hanging up and deleting. So you need to get all your information out super quickly, obviously speaking clearly, but just those main bullet points out at the very beginning. So a trusted, handy bullet point script will come in very handy when you're making some calls to clients, right? Of course, then there's the text messages. Yes, they are the best at getting read and responded to. They're the golden marketing tool, right? So 98% open rate, 45% response rate. Who doesn't love that? Everybody wants to market that way, right? But caveat, text messages are very personal and very regulated, right? Everyone wants to connect via text, but we know that because we know that's how we all communicate these days, but consumers want this to be their safe space. I mean, you want it to be your safe space on the other side of things, right? Like as the non-marketer, if you're going to take yourself out of the sales space and be a consumer, you're like, don't text me. Like if I don't know you, who are you? Why are you texting me? Stop texting, stop, right? So it's a safe space. So this engagement rate really only comes if they have agreed to communicate with you, right? And hence the whole legal stuff of you have to get one-to-one opt-ins, things like that. So if you can get that permission from that person to text them, that's valuable, right? You want to make the most of your text messages at that point. You got to keep them light. You got to keep them engaging. You got to keep them informative. Whatever was your sales pitch to get them in, make sure you're delivering on that piece, right? So don't make it super, super salesy. Get them, with information, maybe fun emojis, GIFs, whatever it is. Careful of adding links too soon. Sometimes adding a link too early could be like, oh, I don't want to click on that. I don't know you that well yet, right? Kind of like you're dating them in a way. You got to build their trust. So, and then you can put things like links or things like that. Unless, of course, they opted in specifically to get your application link, then please text that right away. But then we have another area that's a little bit new to some, and not everyone will have access to utilize these, but I just wanted to put them on here because if you do have a system, so these are push notifications, and they're applicable for, like, if you have a POS system that maybe comes with an app. So like Simple Nexus, this is just an example. So Simple Nexus has the ability to do push notifications, right? So if you have the ability to use these in your marketing, they're great. People read them very quickly, right? Within the first 3 minutes of delivery, somebody's probably reading them. And it's partly right because we hate to see that notification at the top of our phones. We want to just get it off. So like, let me just read this and get it out of the way. Or we'll read all of them in that list together, right? So a single onboarding push in the first week can lift retention by 71% over 2 months. So it is huge if you have the ability. So if you're using any of these kind of systems where you might have that, obviously look into, again, you're already paying for the platform, so definitely see where you can get that with, using any of the platforms that you have. Again, some of the POS systems have this, so definitely reach out. And I saw a question come through about, does Aduvo ask for get permission from your past clients? Yes. So if we don't have an opt-in already from your client, the first text that goes out before any of our text messaging is an opt-in. Because of some of the rules now that are one-to-one opt-in, so we can't assume that you got permission from XYZ app over here. We want to make sure it's a one-to-one, that you really do have permission. So our first email that goes out is like, hey, can we text with each other? And they say yes, and then we're good, and we can send all the texts we want with them because they have agreed. The big thing with that is why we always highly encourage you to ask for permission while somebody's in process with a loan, because it's going to be the time that they're going to say yes, right? Because they need that information. They want it super quick. They want it fast. They want to know if they need to sign docs. Do they need to go get funding? Is it time to close, right? So that's a good captive audience, right, to get opt-ins. And then after that, then you can text them. And again, it's a great repeat customer engagement, right? We want to keep them in the loop. We want to keep them informed. So we're going to keep them in that bubble, and we can text them because they've given us permission. So for sure. I will say on both text and push notifications, sorry, skipping too fast. There's a high bounce rate, right? So, and basically what that means is people will reply stop, or they will turn your notifications off if they feel like there's too much, right? So if they feel spammed, they'll bounce. So try to keep your notifications, especially push notifications, like once a week. Text when needed. Depends on the campaign you're running and depends on what it is about. But you don't want to do more than one a week with them either. So obviously that's outside of somebody who's in process, because then you want to talk to them all the time because you need things from them. But as a lead or a past customer, make sure it's a good time to communicate with them and an engaging reason to reach out on those kind of platforms. So let's talk about print marketing. So back in the day, obviously, back when the Magic 7 was, kind of derived, print marketing was one of the major ways to market, right? You had the little billboards, the little flyers that they'd post around, or newspaper ads or things like that. And so some might argue that this is a dying art form, but it really does still have a very important place in marketing plans. And so there are a couple different kinds of print marketing. This one right here, like the one we're going to talk, this is like basically non-paid. Yes, you're going to be paying for the printing of these items, but the delivery of these items is low cost, or you have to be the one that manages the delivery of it, whether it even costs you a little bit of money, hints in postcards and direct mail, or if you're going to do grassroots and you're going to go door to door and do door hangers, right? It's a little bit lower cost of entry, just mostly the printed materials, and then obviously how you're going to deliver it, you have to kind of figure that out, right? So it does tend to be a little bit cheaper to do things like this, especially if you're going to do some bulk, or you can print a whole bunch of these flyers or door hangers at once, so that way the cost is a little bit lower. Postcards, direct mail can be fairly inexpensive for a large reach, right? It can have a good ROI. I mean, they have, Zipdo said 29% ROI on direct mail ads. So there's still definitely a reason to utilize them. I've never been a big direct mail ad as a standalone, right? In terms of, it doesn't do good to just send one, because you're banking on somebody checking their mail, you're banking on somebody actually sifting through the mail. There's a lot of factors that you're putting in there. But I do love it as an add-on in terms of being one of your 7 interactions, right? I think it's great for brand awareness. I think even if they sift through and they see it, they're going to see your brand, your face, whatever that is for you, your logo, your face, your number, your name. So it's definitely still a good way for that visual recall. But of course, you can do where you do a send, where you're going to do one every week for 6 weeks, right? And then that way it does definitely, it's like, oh, wait, didn't I see this one? I saw this person before. So it's good to, if you bundle it with either itself and do multiple weeks of it, or if you layer it in with things like flyers and door hangers. So if they get one in the mail and they get one on their door and then they see one at their local community shop and it's a flyer on you, like, right? So it is still a good way to layer in that 7 into that 7 interactions. So then, of course, there is print marketing that you pay for, which are like more like the large billboard ads or newspaper ads, magazine ads, those kind of things that you're paying for the space in a bigger publication, and then they worry about the distribution of it. They'll find the best place, they'll put it on the second page, whatever you have agreed to. These are really, really great for brand recall. They actually have a higher recall than a digital ad, partly because they're more in your face. A digital ad has a tendency to, right, you're scrolling and you go quite quickly past a digital ad. These, you're driving and I can't look anywhere else but that billboard, so I see it. And so it's good for brand recall. But it does have a tendency to be a little bit more expensive because they know that they have this data around that, you know, recall is better. So just always know that these are a little bit pricey or places to put your ads. And I always make sure you're asking questions before you buy in these spaces, right? So when somebody's coming to you and say, hey, do you want to put an ad in my new magazine that I just started? Okay, well, who's their target demographic? You know, what's the readership? How many magazines are you going to print, and do they go door to door? Do they get put at just like a local shop where people can pick them up? Like asking those kind of questions so you know exactly the numbers you're paying for, right? And does it hit your target demographic, right? Now, I know target demographic, that's a whole nother class about determining who that is and where, you know, to market to them. I can do a whole nother class on that. But feel free to reach out if you have questions on finding your target market and where the best place to advertise to meet them, right? But this is definitely a place to add in if your budget allows, because like I said, these are definitely tend to be a little bit pricier. You can find newer magazines, you can find newer newspapers or things like that nowadays that are, you know, lower barrier of entry, but they have a tendency to be a little bit pricier. So then we also have paid digital marketing. So these also come in all shapes and sizes. So again, this is just a small glimpse of what is available when it comes to paid digital marketing. And these can have like whole teams dedicated to just running these types of ads because they can get very intricate, very detailed. But there's definitely ways to still do them surface level. You just have to, I would always suggest just pick one lane and kind of test it out, because Google Ads, there's a variety of different ways to advertise on Google. There's Google AdWords, there's Google Ads, and so each one of these can become a little complicated. So if you're going to dive into one, I suggest kind of diving into one. Out of all of them, social ads is the easiest. But again, it's up to you and where you want to market. Just give yourself a little time and grace, because these are a little bit more challenging to set up and understand, especially when it comes to like the Google side of things. But they can run the gamut in terms of price, right? Because everywhere you're on the internet, there's advertising on it. And so some space costs more than other spaces and things like that. So they definitely run the gamut on pricing as well. I mean, I always joke that I remember when TikTok first came out, and there was just like, it was just all about dancing. And I thought, oh my gosh, this will never be a platform that it's gonna be really hard to monetize it and capitalize on it. And I just don't know how they're gonna do that. So I was obviously wrong, very wrong, because in comes obviously the influencers. And now somebody's getting paid to promote your product from the comfort of their living room. So I was proven wrong. But obviously now influencers is a brand new way to market your product. And again, a different way. So if you want to go down that route in terms of that social, that video ad kind of thing with those, it's definitely there for you. Influencer pricing can definitely vary depending on their reach. So, but it is a way. So really the best bang for your buck when it comes to digital, what I've found, and the easiest really is retargeting. So retargeted ads yield 70% higher conversion rate than first touch ads, right? And some people might be like, well, what do you mean by retargeted? The best way to describe it is like if you've ever put something in your shopping cart from Amazon and then you like walked away from that, and then on the next thing you know, you see that product everywhere you turn online, like, hey, there's that couch I saw. Hey, why is that couch? You know, they're retargeting you. They're saying, hey, you were going to buy this and then you didn't buy this. So here it is again, in case you were ready. And it happens so much, like it's funny that I actually now use it as like my reminder. I'm like, if I see something and I'm like, I'm interested, I just don't have time right now because I'm doing the scrolling. So I'm going to click on it, give it a second to take me to the page, and then I'm going to close out and keep doing whatever I'm doing, because I know then that means they're going to show it to me again later. And I'll be like, oh, yes, that's right. I wanted that, but I needed to look into it more, right? So yes, we will get to Aduvo. We certainly will. I will talk about how Aduvo can help you with some of these 7 touches for sure. Sorry, I will get there. I didn't want to overwhelm you with all Aduvo talk, so. But there are platforms out there that can help you with that retargeting. So definitely, I can give those to you offline, but you know, reach out if you want recommendations, or just kind of search for retargeting ads. They're a little bit easier because you just have to either put a little link on your website and then they automatically help, or you can use lists of people. So either way. And then, of course, we have the dreaded social media, the necessary evil of today's marketing, right? So I've gotten asked many times over my years of marketing if people really do need a social media account. And unfortunately, the answer is yes. Yes, you do. It's the yellow pages of today. I know I just aged myself. Some people might not even know what the yellow pages are, but it used to be the directory of all the companies in your town. But now we have the internet, and the #1 platform, I would say, on this list that everyone should need is Google My Business. I put it on the social media because it can act as a social media account. It's not utilized in the same way as a lot of the other social media accounts, but it is definitely the highest rated like platform for almost like a directory of businesses. So definitely look into getting yourself a Google My Business account. Super important in terms of people searching for companies these days. The next place that people go to search for companies, especially the younger generations, is social. So again, you're gonna want to be, so you know, they're gonna go to their Instagram, they're gonna go to probably TikTok, maybe a little bit of Facebook to look for businesses, right? Local restaurants, things like that. They're gonna see who got good reviews or who's showing up in social. So definitely have to start living the social life. But because stats don't lie, 84% of people are more likely to buy from someone they follow on social. And why? Obviously, we feel connected to that brand enough that we follow them, and that we know what they stand for and what we're buying, what we, you know, because we've seen them. We have a glimpse into them and their life, right? So, and if being on social wasn't bad enough, you also have to lean into video content, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be professional. You don't have to have all the equipment set up. It just has to be video. It has to be moving parts just to gain attention. We're scrolling so fast that pictures have a tendency to, unless they're super captivating, they just kind of get scrolled past. So movement, even if it's a moving slide, things like that, just something to grab attention as people are scrolling is key. I mean, it obviously gets shared out 1,200% more. And that sharing broadens your reach. So super important in your marketing is to broaden that reach. So then we have event marketing, one of my favorite kinds of marketing, because that's where a lot of my background in marketing stemmed from, is obviously event marketing it's a connection creator. It can bring people together for like reasons. And it comes in many, many different forms. You can hopefully find a form that fits you. So everything from educational classes to networking events. One of my favorites is philanthropic events. Because it's a win-win. You get to give back to the community while increasing your brand and PR efforts, right? I know some people out there think, oh, but I don't want to brag about my philanthropic work. I don't want to, I just want to participate in this walk because I want to participate in the walk. Share it out because one, customers like to do business with like-minded people. And so if you post about participating in a walk, somebody who's like, oh my God, that charity is near and dear to my heart too, they're going to be more likely to want to do business with you, follow you on social, be connected with you, right? So share it out. And charities love it. The nonprofits love it because the more you can share about your philanthropic work, the more it encourages others to be philanthropic as well and maybe choose their charity too. So it's definitely, like I said, a win-win for everybody involved. These events bring you face-to-face most of the time. Obviously, sometimes webinars, things like that, but that's why I'm always a big encourager of camera on, right? Because we still bring face-to-face with potential clients. And that face-to-face really does increase trust, right? You're a human, you become real, like you're not just this person behind the camera, or the person behind the, you're not the Wizard of Oz. So it can increase trust. And all that goodwill from these interactions can last a long time, right? So 64% of participants in events say that they like that brand recognition lasts 4 months. So definitely worth participating in some sort of class, whether that's as a sponsor, whether you're going to get up and do the speaking, whether you're just going to do the hosting and welcome everybody, or you're just going to go attend and shake hands and say hello to people. That face-to-face is super important. So that brings us to email marketing, the tried and true marketing platform. So I know everybody thinks about it, but I get 1,000 emails a day. How can anyone's email make it through, stand out, right? Emailing is a big art form. It's been around for years and years, and it's still evolves every day. And part of that is through the art of like finessing an email, right? You want to create engaging subject lines that people want to open, and then you want to create enough content within that email to make people stick around and open your next one or click on something and find out more information about you, right? It's all in this one piece that goes out. And so it's definitely an effective form, a quick and effective manner of communicating, right? And also a legal one, right? There are less stringent rules around cold emails and how long you can connect with people via email. So unlike the rules that fall within texting and phone calls and all that you have to worry about, am I calling after 9 months, after 90 days? Am I still allowed to call? Can I text them if they haven't opted in? All those kind of things. Sending an email, super, like you just send an email, right? There's a lot less rules around it. It is also one of the least expensive way to maintain customers, right? So both gain and maintain customers. Like this says, $42 ROI on a $1 spend. So cheap, right? And once you have those customers in your databases, keeping them informed and engaged to come back is super important, right? It's that repeat customer that is 7 times less expensive to get than a brand new one. So, right? So utilizing your monthly emails or newsletters or market updates, any of these kind of things, send them something at least monthly to stay in front of them, right? You can send out post-close and then ask them to leave you a review because reviews are super important, right? But whatever it takes to keep you in front of them on a monthly basis, right? And this is where I'm going to plug Aduvo. I won't go into everything a Duvo can do for you. You won't go into the platform and show you, because one of the things we sell is that you don't have to go into a Duvo to get this working for you. We take 15 minutes to set it up. You get on these newsletters, market updates, things like that, and your clients are being communicated with on a monthly basis, right? We will do that. We do that for you. Like every month we send out newsletters to your borrowers, to your real estate agents. And I know some people are like, oh, newsletters are tiring and nobody wants to hear about the recipe of the month. We don't, for sure. We don't think it's important, but how many times have you opened a newsletter from somebody else just to see? Well, I'm just gonna see. And if we can keep them engaged, we're constantly testing new content and seeing what engages people. We're doing all that background and it for you to make these emails successful. That's why I was brought on board, was to help fine tune and make these emails worthy, right, of your clients. And then obviously utilizing them for everything else. We do everything from post-close campaigns to loan status emails. We try to stay in connection with your clients from the time we even have lead campaigns. So the time that if you have some leads that you are wanting to nurture, we have campaigns for that. And it's all happening in the background while you're out there focused on your leads and your loans and getting those kind of closed. So hopefully it's a way. We have free trials, so please reach out. Let me know if you would like to have a free trial. We can get you signed up, or if you want a whole demo where we go in and we show you all the things that it can do. But the benefit, like I said, is you don't have to. You don't have to log in ever. It's working in the background. But at the same time, we can show you what is happening. We also have everything, like you can see stats, all of that. Like I said, I won't talk too much about a Duvo, but happy to connect with any of you that want to communicate about a Duvo and do a trial. So a Duvo I don't want to say it's a full CRM, it's an email marketer. And it's a standalone. We are our own product. But we do connect with a lot of different platforms. So we connect with Calyx, LendingPad. We just got a new one with Zenly. So if you have LOSs that you want to connect, then that's what makes it great, is then it happens automatically. Like, so birthdays, you don't have to remember when somebody's birthday is. We will just send them an email. And we have a dashboard that you can log into, and there their birthday is. So you can say, oh, this is my birthday's this week. I'm going to give them a call. We're even working on sending some emails to you on important people's birthdays and loan anniversaries and things like that. So that way you know what's happening in your database. Everything from, you can create lists, and I always highly recommend creating a list of your database and filtering it by rate, right? So you can go in there, create a list of all your clients that's funneling in from your LOS system, so we know what they closed at on their rate. And then you can take that and you can filter and say, I want to only see rates that are, higher than a 5.5%, whatever, right? You can go in and then you can see all those people and you can go, okay, these are a good list to kind of stay in touch with because they have a high rate. If we're going to get close to a refi market, cross our fingers, these are the people I want to connect with now, right? So you can work those kind of things. We have in our system, we have emails for refis, right? So you can send emails around refinances. You can post-closing campaigns, lead campaigns, application taking campaign, pre-qual campaign. We can read all that kind of stuff off of your LOS. So that's the great reason why you want a system that connects with your LOS, is so that way it can be more automatic for you. So definitely something to consider, because it definitely takes one of these 7 interactions off your plate automatically, right? So I always say, these are some of the final questions, is what are you doing already that you can keep doing consistently and still keep up with your day-to-day, right? Then there's going to be things that you know need to be done. You can't get to them consistently, because consistency is the key here. You can't keep up with them consistently, right? But you know they need to be done. So how can automation reduce your effort in it but know it's happening, right? And that was our number one reason for creating Eduvo, right? Was that we knew that this was a need that people had. It was a need for the industry to be automatic, compliant, easy. We don't want it. We didn't make a complicated system. Some people want all these bells and whistles, and that's great. But we wanted the simplest, easiest tool to use for you guys. So that's why we did that. Anybody else have any other questions? Feel free to shoot them in the chat. Otherwise, you can always email me after. I'm happy to help you figure these two questions out, right? Like, what can I keep doing? Or where do I need automation to help me, right? And hopefully maybe Eduvo is one of those tools for you. We'd love to have a chance at that. So shoot me an email. I'll get you connected on a demo. But other than that, please, thank you. Here's my email address. Honestly, ask me any question, anytime. I'm happy to help. Like I said, I love to teach marketing, and I'd love to show you Eduvo. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, but hopefully I got you out earlier than expected. And thank you guys so much for allowing me this time to connect. Alrighty, well, please feel free to email me. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you guys.